What's going on YouTube? I'm back with another one. And so today we're going to be looking at this drone I purchased about a week or so ago. And I got this at Target, and it's actually made by a pretty good company. At least I considered it a pretty good company. Sharper Image. So let's take a look at the box. I haven't opened it yet. Like I said, I've had this for a week or so. And the reason I chose this, and I'll show you guys more clearly once I get it out of the box, is because of the motors underneath the propellers you see there. They look pretty big, and this is kind of advertised as a racing drone. Now I paid $52, I think, and I went to go check online just to see how much they are, and when I look online I see it going for $64.99 now. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but we're definitely going to take a look at this, and I'll show you guys what it does. So this is the front of the box. Okay, looks pretty cool. Nice looking drone. Got a little guy as a driver. Here's this side of the box. Okay. All right. Here's this side of the box. Here's this side. Okay. Here's the bottom side. As you can see, I still haven't opened it up. Still all sealed up right there. All right. So let's open this up and see what we find. I'm gonna set you guys down. Got a blade, and let's open this up. So here we go. Try to give you guys a better view. Here we go. Try to pull it out, and there it is. Okay, I slid the box part out, and inside the box there's still some stuff. So we got a instruction manual. That's a plus. And they do not return to store piece of paper. So, all right, I'm gonna set this aside and we'll keep going. So before I go any further, I am gonna say, always read the owner's manual before you fly your drone. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is pull this package out. It seems to be held with tape. Okay. So we got a charging cord, and it's a pretty cool looking charging cord because it's a USB-C. And the other side is a USB-A. That's a first. Okay. And I'm not sure, and it doesn't seem like this cord lights up, so the drone must have a charging light on it. We'll look for that. So the little baggie comes with extra propellers, and they are labeled. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but on the underside and the top there is some markings, so look out for that. And here's a handy little tool. First time I've seen something like this. This is a propeller remover. It just makes it easier for you to go underneath the blade like so and just pop it off. Alright, so let's keep going. First thing I'm going to do is pull the remote out. It's got some zip ties. Here's a remote. So it's got a screw on the bottom of the remote. That must be the battery compartment. Oh, and this is neat. Back of the remote, you can actually charge your drone from it. What you would do is stick your cord in there and then attach it to your drone. And my guess is that this charges the drone also. That's pretty cool. Alright. So both sticks lay to center. Both sticks move around. So we got trim buttons here, up and down, and then we got left to right. And that must be an on-off switch. That's different. Okay. And I also see an auto orientation button and a takeoff and land button. So it's got a hole here for some kind of clip. Alright. I am going to unscrew this and see what the battery compartment looks like. So I'll be right back with the screwdriver. Okay, here we go. Taking this apart. Just a Phillips number 2. Okay, you don't need to take the screw all the way out. And it takes 4 AA's. Alright. So let me get some batteries and I'll be right back. So today we have some really nice batteries. Thank you, Duracell. And the only reason I'm going with something this nice is because I'm going to try the USB charging feature. Again, thank you, Duracell. Okay. Pop that back on. The lettering goes up where the sticks are. Screwing that back down. And there we are. So I'm going to turn this dial, see if it makes a noise or anything. Okay, no noise and no light on the remote. Kind of would like a light, but it's okay. As long as it does its job, I'm okay with it. Okay, so that's done. Set that aside. So let's get this drone out of the packaging. Again, it's a nice looking drone. Great packaging. Okay. So I see some plastic little holders down there. There's one here too. I'm not sure if you guys can see them, but they're right there. Okay. So on the back, there's just one in the center right there. Cutting that with the side cutter. And there we are. She is out. So I'm going to set this down, clean up a little bit, and I'll be right back. There's the drone. Here's the underside. Hopefully you guys can see that. Alright, so it's got a on button right here. Okay. So here's this side of the drone. Here's the back side. Here's this side. The front. The little guy. Okay. The propellers are pretty big. Kind of surprised how big they are. And again, the reason I got this was the size of the motor. So I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but the size of this motor is pretty tall and pretty fat. And I'm hoping this guy is a fun little flyer. Maybe fast, hopefully. And I can recommend it. So I read through the manual very briefly, and there is a couple of things that I do want to point out. So the drone comes with a 3.7 volt, 800 milliamp battery. So something else I did want to point out is that battery charging takes about 90 minutes, as shown right there. Hopefully you guys can see. All right. And you can use a USB-A wall charger, and the 90-minute charging time is based off the wall charger at 5 volts and 1 amp, as shown there. I don't exactly know how long it's going to take charging the drone with the remote, but it's good to know that you can use another power source so you don't kill the batteries in the remote. But it's a nice option to have the remote be able to charge the drone. Something else I do want to point out that is kind of cool is that you can have up to 10 other people play or fly or race these drones together. And if you do so, you gotta basically do it a certain way, which is bind each drone at a time. So say you have 10 other people that buy these, you would do it once at a time, and basically you turn on your remote first, turn on your drone, and then go up and down with the stick to bind the unit, and then the next person would go next. Okay, so that's basically all I wanted to show you guys. As mentioned, I just briefly looked through the manual, and I recommend, if you get any drone, that you deeply look through the manual and read all about it. So at this point, we're all done with the manual, and all I'm waiting for is the drone to charge. As you see here, the red LED lights are still glowing, and in the manual it said once the drone is charged, these rear lights will turn off. So once it gets to that point, I will show you, and we'll go from there. So the lights turned off, so this should be good to go. I'm going to unplug it. Easier said than done. Set you guys down. There we go. Put this aside. And one thing I did want to point out, I had mentioned that there was no light on the remote, but reading through that manual, I learned that there is a light, and it is right in here. So to turn on the remote, what you got to do is turn this dial clockwise, and when it's on the open circle, that turns the remote on, and you get a light that turns on. So that's pretty nice. And when it slowly blinks like so, I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but there it is again. It's in binding mode, so it's looking for the drone. So let's turn on the drone, and what you got to do to power this thing up is hold down that power button right there. Once that light kicks on, it should start blinking slowly. At that point, you have to bind both the remote and the drone together. So I'm going to turn off this light so you guys can see the light on the remote. And what you guys got to do is go up, down. Once that happens, you hear a beep, and both the light in the remote and on the drone will stop blinking slowly. So let's give this thing a fly. Got the drone in the middle of the room, and you can take off manually, which I'm going to try first, and you can also take off with a button, which is this one. Okay, but first I am going to use the manual control, so I'm going to try this and see if it works. Whoa. Gotta add some trim. Okay, added some forward trim. Taking some away. And I'll tell you what, this thing is loud, which is pretty cool. I think this is the loudest drone I have. Alright. First thing I notice is that it doesn't bank or tilt that much. So it's not very fast going left to right. Same applies for the forward and back. So again, what I mean by that is it doesn't really tilt to make it move fast. It kind of takes its time. Same applies for the forward and back. Kind of tilts very little, takes its time, and seems very beginner friendly. But it is very loud. It does sound like it's got some power. I don't feel like it's very fast. So I'm going to fly it again. This time I'm going to take off using the auto land and auto takeoff button. I am going to set a stopwatch just to see how long this battery lasts. So here we go. I'm going to use the auto takeoff, and I'm going to start the stopwatch. That worked perfectly. So it'll hover by itself, pretty stable. It climbs at a pretty fast pace. So I'll give you an example. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. So it does climb pretty fast. And again, the sound, very loud. But there isn't much speed. So I did use the auto orientation button, and that's supposed to keep the sticks the same no matter which direction the drone is facing. Now, when I pushed it, the sticks automatically went to the opposite direction. So left went right and right went left, up went, sorry about that, up went down and down went up. So that was very confusing. I'm not sure why it did that. To me, that's kind of the opposite of what it should be doing, but I could be wrong. I don't normally use auto orientation, so that's something to point out. So let's take off again. Okay, this is what I mean. So it was this stick that I was trying to point out. Okay, so I'm going to use the auto orientation button. All right, so it's facing me, right? And it makes the sticks in the opposite direction. Very confusing. And as you guys can see, I'm having a low battery light flashing at me. That was kind of fast. I'm gonna see what happens if I keep pushing it. Alright, so you guys saw what happened there. I did a quick burst and it hit the ceiling, came down, and now it won't take off. So I'm guessing that the battery died somewhere in the quick burst up to the ceiling. I'm going to check the stopwatch. And the stopwatch shows 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Now, it was definitely under 5 minutes because the drone wasn't flying the whole time. So that's kind of a short life. I'm going to charge it again. I am going to show you guys a time lapse of that charge. See how long it takes to charge with the remote, so you guys have an idea. And then we'll record the time and go from there. As you saw, that took an hour and 15 minutes. That was less time than the 90 minutes that was mentioned in the owner's manual. Let's give it another try. I'm going to be timing the flight just to see how long it's in flight. Hopefully it's longer than before, because 5 minutes isn't much. Let me put my headgear on and I'll be right back. I'm in the bigger part of the basement, so let's give it a flight. So what you got to do first is turn on your remote. You'll see a light start flashing. Then you turn on your drone. You'll see that light come on and start flashing. Then you got to pair. So to pair them together, you got to go up, down, and that should pair them together. I'm going to start the stopwatch and take off. I gotta add trim, forward trim. Okay. Definitely a cool looking drone. That little pilot looks pretty cool in there. And that was full blast. So not exactly fast. I'm gonna give it another full blast run just to show you guys. And the inputs on the remote are not exactly the fastest. Again, I mentioned it being a very beginner type of drone. And yeah, I still feel the same way. You know, sometimes it'll kind of want to do its own thing. So you kind of have to keep it at a slow pace, or else it'll just kind of freak out. Like right there. I didn't ask to go that high, but for some reason, it just shot up. Just like that. It kind of does its own thing if you try to maneuver it kind of fast. It likes a slow and steady input on the controller. It doesn't like to be maneuvered very fast. Having a hard time climbing. I'm guessing the battery's starting. There you go. Battery got low. So let's see what the stopwatch looks like. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So we landed and the remote is beeping. And it did that when the battery started getting low. I'm going to turn it off. And to turn off the remote, you go counterclockwise. And let's turn off the drone. Let's go back into the hobby room and we'll close up this video. Okay, so we're back in the hobby room. I'm gonna turn off this light so you guys can see better. So what are my thoughts? I think it looks cool, especially when it's flying. And again, I purchased it for the size of the motor. I thought maybe this thing was going to be fast, and that's not the case. It's actually very beginner friendly. I wish they had a way to get more out of it, like some of the other drones that I have, where you can have stages of speed or advancements in ability. So you'd get like a button and you'd have it on first, second, or third mode. And that increases the angle or the speed at which the drone flies, but that's not the case. It's very beginner friendly, so I guess that's good and bad for some people. Another positive point is the ability to charge the drone from your remote. As you guys saw, it takes just over an hour. It was an hour and 15 minutes. So it's not as long as the manual had mentioned. They had mentioned 90 minutes. So that's a plus. So the positives are that it looks, to me, it looks pretty cool, right? And the remote being able to charge the drone, that's a pretty cool thing to me. But the negatives, I believe, outweigh the positives. The negatives are the short flight time, just over 5 minutes, and then you're having to charge it for over an hour. You're gonna get tired of that real fast. What else is a negative? It's not that fast, so you'll get bored of kind of putting around. Another negative is it kind of does its own thing when you start kind of driving it aggressively. As you saw, it would either drop real low or hit the ceiling. And the price. As I mentioned, I paid $52 for this. And even at that price, I feel like this is way overpriced. Yes, it is a sharper image product, but the name shouldn't be what you pay for. It should be the product. If this was $20, I would feel different about it. Maybe even give it a chance. As I showed you guys on the Target website, this thing's going for over $60. That's pretty steep for a beginner with what I believe are a lot of flaws drone. And this is all my opinion. If you have this and you like it, good for you. If you're either looking to buy one or thinking about getting one, I would think twice about it. This one is one that I would pass on. So that's all for today, guys. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.